Hello, my gigsters. Thank you for joining this session. And I know we have been not lately been visible to many of our community members because we've been busy launching an awesome app. So if you have missed it, I would like you to go check our YouTube channel and type my Geeksters product launch, and you can see what we've been up to the last couple of weeks. This conversation is something that I really wanted to talk about lately, and it's about financial resilience. And during COVID, and there's a lot of uncertainties with lockdowns, and that is particularly impacting gig workers, especially in the rideshare space. There is spikes and surges in delivery space, so it is hard for a number of our community members. So this conversation is essentially, I've got Swami here, and I wanted to talk to Swami about um, what is this financial resilience about? How can we improve it, and what are some of the ways we can tackle it? And being a gig worker, how can we be more financially secure in this current unprecedented times that we live in? So, if you're if you're listening for this first time, quick shout out. My Gigsters is an amazing community for ride sharing delivery drivers. We are all about creating a supportive space for drivers to connect, learn, and share. Our goal is to make the gig workers more financially secure and safer. And you can check us out on Facebook slash mygigsters.com.au, and you will find our page and the group there. So thank you. Swami, how are you doing today?
Doing very well, Banji. Thanks. It's really nice to be here. Nice to be talking to Geeksters and about a topic that's really very close to both of our hearts, isn't it? We've been Geeksters. We know how the motion works, especially in the COVID times. It's really a very important topic to be talking about. I'm very happy to be here and happy to be talking about this.
Yes. Um, for those who don't know, Swami has been behind the product, and he's kind of the product owner for My Gigsters and co-founder of My Gigsters in a way. Swami, um, today's topic I wanted to talk to you about is financial resilience. Now, we know resilience in general life, but what is this financial resilience?
Yeah, financial resilience is, as you rightly put, resilience to the core, right? Which is now when a financially stressful event happens, how do you cope up with it? How do you come out of it the other side with maybe good war stories to tell, but not necessarily diminished or damaged because of that? To me, that's how I would put financial resilience as and how you sort of develop it.
Is it about being prepared for the unexpected, or is it like it's it's being prepared for the uncertain times? um, how do you see
Yeah,
for financial resilience for gig workers specifically?
yeah. So for me, I believe that the actual game is played before the game starts. And what I mean by that is that the practice that you do. They always say this for marathons. It's not about the finishing line. It's about getting to the start line. The preparation that you do and how sort of equipped you are determines how you actually play the game. And that actually is very true for life in general and gig work more so in particular, right? Because you don't have a cushy 9 to 5, you don't have one 40 hours job and that's it. You work for multiple employers, you work for multiple customers. You've got a very dynamic life. Lines are really really blurred between your personal life, your business life, how you go about all of them. So it's especially important for gig workers to think really clear about their finance, whether it's business or personal, and build that resilience as part of their planning, so that God forbid, when there are those, let's say, unexpected bills or some life event happening, they are actually ready for it.
No, very
And
very
Benji, I
true.
think. Hmm.
Sorry,
I
go
think
on.
you probably know that example. I think you were talking about it last week, right? About the TikTok artist and what happened to them. It's probably a good story to tell our gigsters. Benji, do you wanna tell about
Yeah,
that?
without disclosing, a name and TikTok accounts, there was this very growing artist on TikTok which had close to 1 million followers, um, and pretty much this TikTok content artist was actually earning money, and that was a lifestyle, an influencer kind of an person, and um, apparently one of the videos that this artist posted was inappropriate according to TikTok standards, and as a result, within within few hours, almost like overnight, the account was brought down and the person was banned on the platform. Um, Now, instead of going into the details of what actually happened or what happened after that, but this person went where obviously he was very depressed because a the only source of income that this person had was brought down, and so it's not easy to build TikTok audience, and all that work was actually brought down quite easily. So it kind of, to me, that story shared your dependence on a format of income, and if that income source is altered, changed, or removed, then if you're not planned to face such uncertainty, and I think that's where your resilience is impacted. And we have heard this, right? In a normal day there is usually a good to average ride share demand, and during lockdowns there is a significant drop in ride share, and there's less riders, so there is less ride share request. And the thing is, we all know, we don't know when the lockdown is, or we are not it's not planned, it's just it happens. We really don't know when it will end and when it will start, and that creates this uncertainty for people who are financially dependent on ride share income. And yeah, so Swami, what now that we've got a good understanding of what this financial resilience is about, and how important it is for gig workers, especially, I would wanted to talk about how can we actually build a more financially secure lifestyle. We have to find out a solution to this, not essentially a foolproof solution, but how can we be smart? You mentioned about being prepared for the marathon. How can we be prepared for such an uncertain event in our financial lifestyle? But before you answer the question, I think the audience should know there's a disclaimer. Um, Me or Swami are not graduated or formal financial advisors. So, any advice, anything that we are saying in this video and in this podcast, please treat it in your own understanding. If you wanted to take a decision, please approach to more uh, a financial advisor to take the right decision. This is more just us sharing about the world in generals. Anyway, now that is off the list. Swami, um, I'm gonna ask you. So give. Let's start with what will be the number one thing that you would do in order to build a financially secure gig work.
I would first try and diversify my income, Benji, and that's in the DNA of our customers, right? Of our audience, right? Um, Not working for multiple platforms. In a sense, you already do that, but what we mean by diversification here is that if you are a delivery driver, lockdown is going to kill your income, right? And diversification means what else can you do, whether it be food delivery, whether it is courier delivery, could be any of that. And what we would also sort of advise is that if you do something that is closer to your core skills, it doesn't really have to be just in the driving space. It could be anything else, any other life skill that you have that can be monetized. It's always good to have multiple different streams of income that are coming through. That's the first thing that I would suggest.
Very, very valid point. I think if you are already a gig worker, let's say, and I know a number of rideshare drivers in our community. When the rideshare work went down, they switched gear and they started working for delivery platforms. And now that delivery platforms are also trying to go above and beyond just food delivery, now you got delivery for pharmaceuticals, you got delivery for parcel couriers, you got delivery for alcohol, you pretty much get delivery for pretty much everything. So a smart move would be is to look at other platforms where you could drive basically and earn money. And also, if you are not a gig worker, coming into gig work is also a form of diversification, in my opinion. If you have recently lost your job during COVID, or if your job has been significantly reduced, you could look at forms of gig work in as a secondary or a supplementary source of income. And it's not just about, I think, just rideshare and driving. Like you fairly pointed out, you could use any of your skill set. Could be a content designer, content writer, and you can work in a freelancing platform writing a few blogs. You could be a graphic designer, you could design few logos, or you could be someone who has a good accent and you can do voiceover artist on a few platforms. So I think there is so much skill set that people have, they don't realize they have. They can actually monetize that skill set. And I like this, like I like uh, platforms where you can start by easily by charging $5 for a skill set, and you can,
Yeah,
it's small money, but it's actual money. Uh,
absolutely, absolutely.
Swami, now that we're talking about the skill set, right? I think a number of the gig workers community, they actually don't realize that they are very skilled. They are all professionals. I know people who have been in corporate industries and stepped down to work in the righteous space. I know international students who have got master degrees in data and information technology and whole a lot of other things. And but doing gig work, but for a number of reasons. Like I was doing that, right? I used to do masters and I used to do food delivery. But I know that I had some skill set that if, let's say, food delivery was not there, I could have tried out a few other things to monetize my skill set in a very similar freelancing format. But I think what needs to be there is more of an upskilling,
Yeah,
more of
totally.
being prepared to upskill even if you're not having a core skill. It's just understanding what's happening in the landscape and upskilling. Swami, can you talk about more of upskilling for the future in general?
100%, Benji. I think I'll probably start with a story. Start with a very superlative story, right? Of a person by the name of Ryan, who was an immigration lawyer in Australia, 2007-8. Today, he's heading up a multi-billion-dollar business um, called a Cloud Group. Many people might have heard it. It's more than $2 billion in value. It's across the world. They train people on cloud, and they've trained people on cloud technologies than anybody else has ever done, right? So from an immigration lawyer to doing something deep technical like that, that's the transition that this guy has made in 14, 15 years. Just one example of how you seek diversification and you seek upskilling in one go. We've got a lot of examples of gigsters doing it, especially in the last 18 to 20 months. A gym trainer who then just developed his web design skills. He's now just doing freelancing and in many of the freelancing websites. I think upskilling in today's world has become really, really a necessary part of your professional life. Sample this, right. 80% of job titles, well, there were just 10 job titles, which found 80% of the total job titles in the market in 1970. Can you think of the same today? Probably not, right?
Yeah,
You've got
there's like
like, yeah. I mean,
infinite number of job titles.
absolutely. Within one company, large organizations, they've got hundreds of job titles just within that company itself. It's really hard to grapple. So that's just the nature of the beast, right? I mean, with technology and the advancement comes in so many different specializations and skill sets. So if you know something well today, doesn't mean you would be a master of that 5 years later because things would have changed by then. So continuous upskilling is really, really required to keep you in the game
Mm,
and
mm.
keep you relevant to the market. That's
Yeah,
just how you protect your income.
I think it's a, for, if I was looking to be build on a new skill or basically get better at a skill that I have beginners level expertise, you can always go and invest a bit of time into any online skill
Mm.
training providers, or there is some non for profit skill upskilling providers in the state. They will help you learn, kind of like web technology or marketing skills, and then they will also offer you, they'll connect you with industry and help you get jobs and stuff like this. So it's people like that. I'll put a few in the video description and audio description too, so you can check them out. Um, but I think there is multiple platforms where upskilling can be done. If you have a passion around something, or you like something, or you like to learn something, you could always go learn that. The only tip I would give is, these days, uh, there's a lot of noise around e-learning, and there's so much confusion out there, like what to learn, how much to spend. My tip would be is to gig workers to pick only one or two skills at start, and spend the time, and then if they like what that skill is, then they can further invest and go learn more and stuff. So I wouldn't say, go pay $50,000 and earn a bachelor's degree in something. You may want to do a small training at start to build upon. Um, Now it's Swami, we spoke about, upskilling, right? And I can't ignore the fact that people, it doesn't matter whether you have $100, you're earning $100 or $100,000 or $1 million. If you don't, if you don't financially assess yourself, if you don't measure, you cannot improve. You need to know how your financial your experience with money is, and how do you spend, how do you earn, where do you spend, a lot of these things. And I think, in my personal opinion, 60-70% of financial resilience is probably just how we deal money and how we tend to live with money. What do you think about, around that point, Swami, which is about understanding and analyzing income and expenses as, as a base? Like, how can I understand my income and expense better?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed this one, Benji. So this is that old adage that says, what you measure is what you manage. Yeah, yes, upskilling is great, and diversifying your income source is great. You earn more money. That's one way to build financial resilience. But it's important what you earn, but it's more important what you save, because that's what's going to be with you in your pocket after your expenses are done. So yeah, the first step to doing that is to analyze how where your income is coming from, what you're spending it on. Um, we do know from Barefoot Investor to create a stowaway or a rainy day fund, as he calls it. Basically, just your 90-day expense, put it in a fund and don't touch it unless it's actually a rainy day. There was this recent survey that was done which says that 58% of Australians have a fund like that. And if you actually cut it by age, only 30% or less of people under the age of 30 have that rainy day fund established
Mm,
with a 90-day income. That kind of tells a story about how young people manage finances. that's also why, like for example, in my gigsters, when we were talking to a lot of gigsters, we realized that problem is far more severe
Yeah.
in the solopreneurs gigster space, because really the boundaries are blurred, right? Yes, you have income coming in, you've got some expenses that are business expenses, you've got in the same account some personal expenses. Really, the lines are blurred and crossed, and nobody knows what they're anymore. Besmirched is the word I would say. That's really why I think, in my gigsters we were very passionate about putting a feature out to for people to analyze their income and expenses in a very safe and secure way, and also to be able to sort of mark what their business income is when it is fresh in their memory.
Yeah.
What is a business expense and what is a personal expense? Yes, it definitely helps you maximize your tax deduction. That's a lot of dollars earned. That's a very good byproduct. But I guess the main thing is about analyzing your income and expense, and that actually tells you what your discretionary expenses are, what your sort of essential expenses are. And when you know what your essential expenses are or mandatory expenses are, then you're prepared. When an unexpected bill hits you, you clearly know what you can avoid and what you need to spend. It's
Nah,
kind of where my head is.
yeah. You you actually brought a very important point, around, especially the blur of solopreneurs. And when I was a gig worker, pretty much like that. I had the same account, and I would get all the ABN income in that account, ABN expenses in that account, and then I would have my expenses in the account. It was a nightmare. Like I don't know a day where I actually tracked everything accurately, which means
Mm.
I know that I've lost, like I could have saved more money on taxes, but I didn't, because I didn't know whether that gas bill was for expense for business or for personal, or even, let me make it complicated, how much percentage of that was for business and for personal, because I was using the same car for my personal use also. So um you brought a very important point, and I think, not to sell my Geeksters, but I think that's where we brought the feature of, how can we make this easier for gig workers to automatically track, um, and record all their income and expenses without them to do it manually. If a spreadsheet
Mm.
can do that, why would I want to do it manually and stuff? So we took that step to make it completely automated. But you are the person behind, in building that automation feature in the app. So I have a question for you. This is more not I know that I can go link my bank account, and it I know my Geeksters can automatically do this, but I'm a bit sometimes nervous. um if someone is like looking at my bank account, what does my Geeksters have, so that is it can you take money from my account, or how secure is this?
Oh, no, let's clearly say that no. um, can't take money out from anyone. I guess when we design my Geeksters, we're coming from the DNA. We've got the DNA of Geeksters, right? Um, Coming from that, yeah, it's really nervous when somebody says you can link your bank account, analyze your income, nice and dandy, but how secure is that? Um, that's also, I think, why we at MyGeeks has really made it a point to partner up with a company like Ilian. We're going to put their solutions link in the resources section of this video. Highly encourage everyone to go check it out. Ilian is kind of the backbone of several financial technology companies. Um, Chances are that thousands of chances are that the mortgage broker that you're working with or the financial advisor that you're working with is using something that's powered by Ilian. It's an industry-leading solution in Australia. Thousands of mortgage brokers across the country use it. A lot of financial technology companies use it. They've got a bank-level secure encryption of credentials, which brings in a greater level of automation. You can just with the tap of your finger sync up your bank accounts, but also gives you a real security. So it's literally like working with your banking applications, as secure as that. And no, my gigster does not store any of the credentials or any of the data around this, because that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is to be able to offer that service to our users, but not necessarily sort of use that data in any way to commercially benefit us. Right? It's definitely
Yeah, yeah. I think it's we it's more like reading the statement than actually accessing the real money, if they say. I was actually telling this to one of my friends recently. It's like, do back in those days where there was a physical bank and there
Mhm.
was a physical box in which there will be physical money under your
Yeah,
name, and that was the banking of the past. Now you don't really know if there's a box. It's not any. Your money is just a
there's no
number on your
box.
screen. Anyway, that's for another conversation. But I think what you've shared, definitely shared the A, we can't take many money. B, we can't even put money. I wish someone can put money in my account. Um, but it's also secure, which is nice. Swami, in terms of just expense administration, and I think this is something very important, and I is gig workers need to be quite, I wouldn't say mean, but be smart.
Hmm.
Like I've been a bargain hunter, a deal hunter for ages, and me, like
You're a
um,
serial deal hunter, Benji.
I'm like the serial deal hunter. If someone wants to put a cookie on me, I'll be like the biggest fan on Os Bargain or something like that. Anyway, but it's just being, not that I'm being cheap, right? But why would I want to spend twice or thrice the money if I could get the same thing for 50% less? I might have to
Totally.
wait a bit, or I might have to do a bit more searching in the internet or whatever. I might have to shop around. But it's just that it's my money, right? Of course, it didn't come easy. I have to do multiple deliveries and rides, and it's very hard earned money. So I think it's also something that I wanted to share. Gig workers out there, um, you should be really, really smart about how you spend the money, and just be uh, smart around it. And I think this is where community is very useful. Trust me,
Yeah,
very useful, because people find deals, people find cheaper ways to get things done, people find smarter ways to get things done, and if when they share it, it becomes a tip for our rest in the community. And you can always, like, the other day someone told me about a car tire deal. You can actually get 50% off on certain car tires, and it's like, that's really nice.
that's really cool.
um, so I didn't know about it, and it just came from someone in the community. um,
Yeah,
I didn't know that there are cheaper prepaid phone plans these days that doesn't come into like proper media, or in the marketing. So I think
mm.
a lot of these
Mm.
stuff is there. What I will also highlight is most gig workers, I'm just going to go and say boldly that almost 80 to 90% of gig workers actually lose a lot of money on taxes. um,
Mm.
Not that they're just being lazy around maintaining expenses or logging them. It's just because they don't have a tool or something that can smartly do it for them, so they pretty much miss out on bills. We've got so many different categories that we can claim tax against, including parking,
Totally.
all of that. I think that's also something that we got to be really smart around in order to be more financially secure.
Totally. Here's a good example, right? Not many people think about car wash,
Mm.
and just let me give you a good example. Um, I was sitting with a gigster, a rideshare driver, a friend of mine, a couple of months back, and when I mentioned this, he was like, "Yeah, sure," and he was like, "No, man, let's calculate this." Just back of the envelope math. He has spent about $550 in the previous, 7 to 8 months on car cleaning, well, probably a year, um, that he hasn't claimed for. Now, if you had actually put it in, that's about $200 of money tax deductions in his pocket. if only he had put it in a logbook somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like that's $200. I mean, that's petrol for a couple of days at least, isn't it? Um,
Yes.
those are things that are very small that we don't notice it, but they quickly add up. Definitely something that people need to have a way to log it properly. While I'm at this, I'm also going to go digress a little bit about deal hunting. Guys, if you're not taking anything away from this call, take this one thing out. Benji is that serial deal hunter. If you have a chance to grab a coffee with him, ask him about the deals, ask questions to us in the community about deals. He sometimes has got really, really good answers, and he comes up with deals that are really, really cool. But yeah, community sharing is it's definitely what we need to do. And if you've got good deals that you've come across, please put it in our Facebook group so your fellow gigsters can also benefit from it. Highly encourage them.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Well, we've come towards the end of our chat. I know, Swami, we can keep talking about this space for the next 6 hours, but I don't think listeners will be listeners will be
See, people,
ready. But quickly summarizing, Swami, what we spoke about is the importance of financial resilience and why you need to be financially resilient during such times, and especially in gig work. We also we spoke about 4 different ways we can actually be more financially secure. By starting with diversifying your income sources, finding out places and platforms where you could share your skill and earn little more money. We also extended the conversation by saying the second point around upskilling, about getting trained in a new skill or upskilling an existing skill, being prepared for the future, and that will help you monetize and earn extra revenue from it. We also took the other side of this, which is about discipline, financial discipline around, and that was a third point around analyzing our income and expenses. We spoke about the need for actually tracking, measuring your income and expenses, and actually in granular level knowing where your last dollar is coming from and going to, and that gives you a better control of your cash flow, better control of your finances. And towards the end, we also spoke about a way that gig workers can be smart around expense management, or why would you need to be smart around expense management. So I think this phenomenal 4 points that you can, any gig worker who's actually watching to this video or listening to this podcast, they know that they can take away just being smart around things that help them to be more financially secure. um Swami, thank you so much. Before we end this call, is there anything that you like to add?
I think you kind of summarized it very well, Benji. It's also sort of important to add in goals to sort of track your goals. I think that just came into my mind as we closing it. Um, we do have that feature in my Gigsters as well, may I add?
Yes.
that that you can go and add your goals, because it's also important to know where you're heading towards and what you want to earn. Like whether you do it in my Gigsters app or not, I think it's a good life skill that we should be talking about. But yeah, that's probably the only other thing I would add.
Nice, nice. No, no, definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Swami, thank you so much for being on the chat this morning. I really, really appreciate your time. And I look forward to more of our community members actually engaging and participating. So, for everyone who's watching this video or listening to this podcast, if you want to be part of this amazing community, trust me, it's awesome people out there. You could just come on to Facebook and type for My Geeksters. It's an exclusive community for rideshare and delivery drivers in Australia. Come on board. We've got some amazing experts on that community. Would love to have you there. And it's free. we don't charge you. No, we charge you. No, if you're going to charge you. You just come on board. We love to, I think the community is so powerful, and I think that's what I would probably give as a call to action for anybody who's listening and watching this video. If you want to know more about us, head on to mygeeksters.com.au and you can check us out. And Also, if you wanted to try out our application, it's free and it's available both on Android and iOS store. You can simply hit my gigsters and we should be there, and you can download and try it out and become more financially secure and more smart. Until I see you all in another video and another episode, all I'm going to say is drive safe and be smart, and catch you soon. Thank you, Swami.
Thank you, Benji, and thanks everyone. Stay safe.
Cheers.
Yes.